Recording? Good afternoon. I'm sorry we're getting a little bit of a late start. It's 1:01 in the afternoon instead of noon. For our noon show, we're starting at 1 today. This is Thursday, January 25th. And welcome to what we're calling now the 48th Parallel Noon News. The noon news at 1:01 p.m. So why are we late? Because I had a medical appointment and I couldn't get out of it. So there's my little band there. Don't look at that. That's private information. We're going to today talk quickly about a new service from Kenmore Air that I think everyone's going to know about. Then we have an interview with a person who answers the question: does anyone care that we have lost the route, the Washington State Ferry's route to Sidney? I think that's a very interesting interview. We recorded it yesterday afternoon. We'll be playing that today. And then finally, we'll end up with an appeal from me to find someone out there who would like to host a noon news show. I'd like to work myself out of this job if I could. First of all, about the new service from Kenmore Air, I'm going to read actually from a news release because they wrote it better than I can say it. So here we go. Kenmore Air is set to debut an exciting new seaplane route linking Friday Harbor on San Juan Island with the picturesque Victoria's Inner Harbor. The company confirmed they'll be launching the new route starting May 16th and operating daily until November 1st. The journey will be 30 minutes between the two destinations. Travelers on these flights will revel in the unparalleled beauty of the Pacific Northwest from a distinctive vantage point way up in the air. Passengers on these flights will enjoy the stunning scenery of the Pacific Northwest from a unique perspective. Friday Harbor Marina and Victoria's Inner Harbor will now easily be connected through Kenmore Air's seaplane services. The flights will depart Friday Harbor Marina at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. and depart Victoria's Inner Harbor at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. Flights out of Victoria will start at $129 per person U.S. one way. This new route, this is a quote, this new route is a testament to our commitment to enhancing connectivity and providing our passengers with exceptional travel experiences, said David Cudgel, president of Kenmore Air. Quote, we're thrilled to offer another convenient and scenic connection between two iconic destinations in the Pacific Northwest. So congratulations, Kenmore Air, and we are happy to hear that a direct route at the same time that our Washington State Ferry connection to the Saanich Peninsula has been lost now for some time, and best case might be back in 2030. We're very happy to hear of this new option for people who would be inclined to, at least in season from May 16th through November 1st, use this as a great option to get over there and back. So at that, thank you, Kenmore Air, and we will be right back.
Cabaret Corner is back. We've taken a little hiatus, but we're back with the Love and Laughter Show for February, the 16th, 17th, and 18th, and then a special one on Valentine's night. Well, love and laughter goes along with Valentine's Day, and sometimes it includes anger and breakups and payback, which will be the laughter part, hopefully. But then the love part is just some nostalgic, wonderful music from the 40s and 50s, and it's just going to be a lovely evening of fabulous entertainment. And there'll be wine and chocolate. We have been doing Cabaret Corner for 2 years. This is going on our 3rd year. And we have just had such a joy in presenting this to the community because it's a darling little venue with candlelit tables. And we turn it into this place, kind of like a speakeasy, where it's dark and quiet and yet wonderfully filled with all of the friends that you want to bring. We have tables for 4. We can even put 5 on a table if you need a whole table, and we've got tables for 2 and a quarter of the tickets. So, and they go fast. So normally we sell out most shows. So it's good to get your place in it. Go to our website, studiojam.com, and you can look up events, and you'll see the website where it has all the details. Tickets are $27, and then for our box seats, which are the cushioned old theater seats of the Palace Theater, and we just have 4 of those, and there's 2 on each side, and those we raised the price to $30 because they were such a hot commodity.
And we're back, and we're here today with Tyler Berreth. Tyler, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah. So I didn't know, but you are the owner of Salty Fox. You work there. I knew that, but I didn't know you were the owner.
That's right. I've been the owner for just over a year as of this month.
That's cool.
I worked for Andrea for 6-7 years there at the shop, and she was in a phase of her life where she was ready to step back, so she gave me the opportunity to purchase that from her, and it's been a good time so far.
So many people are big fans of the breakfast sandwich, and the coffees are great. If anybody doesn't already know that the everything cookie is the best cookie possibly on the island, there's a few people who would probably argue with that. That's my experience. I think it's terrific. So please keep that on the menu.
Will do. That's been a staple on the menu since before I even worked there. So good. I don't see it going anywhere.
Okay. So we're talking today about the question. We're talking about the former and perhaps future Sidney ferry, Anacortes Friday Harbor Sidney ferry, run by Washington State Ferries. And it disappeared a few years ago, ostensibly because of COVID, although now we know it wasn't just COVID. And I think the question is, for a lot of people, is who cares? Mm-hmm. Do you care?
I definitely care, yeah.
Why?
For the longest, I come from Nanaimo, which is on Vancouver Island. So for the longest time, I was commuting back and forth constantly, almost once a month even, on the Sidney ferry to go visit my family. It was a 3 or 4 hour trip, just a quick ferry ride, and then a bit of a drive from Sidney to either Nanaimo, Shawnigan Lake, Qualicum, wherever, depending on who I was going to see. And now it's like, it's an all-day affair. I got to take the ferry to Anacortes, drive up through customs, which in itself can take a couple hours, and then take another ferry, which is a 2-hour ferry from Suwasan to Duke Point, and then drive. So, suddenly it's like a 7-8 hour day just to go visit my family who are 50, 60 miles away.
How when the ferry was operating, how long did it take you to get home?
Maybe 3-4 hours tops. The ferry was less than 2 hours, and then maybe an hour and a half driving.
And now?
Probably 8 hours, and it's expensive now too. A round trip is probably $300-400 between 4 ferries. That's 2 Washington ferries, 2 BC ferries, and gas for 3 hours of driving each way.
So how many times when the ferry was running for all those years, I think you said that you told me before that you really lived here for 3 or 4 years while the ferry was running. Is that right? About 4 years? Yeah.
So I moved here in early 2017, and then I believe the Sidney ferry stopped running in, was it 2020 or 2021?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So how many times back in that 4-year stretch? How many times a year? How often could you go back home?
Probably every couple of months, maybe 2-3 months. Tops would be the longest I'd go without going to visit.
And now?
Now it's pretty much Christmas only, maybe Thanksgiving if I can, figure it out with work. And because it's really now, it used to be like a day trip or like a couple days was no problem. But now in order to make that 8 hour trip, that 8 hour, like $300 or $400 trip worth it, you've really got to go for, at least a week or so.
Yeah. So, what is that? What is that doing to? How is that affecting your relationship with, say, your grandparents?
It's definitely, not been as good. They would like to see me more than they have been able to. They're elderly now too, so they can't really make the trip all the way down here without that Sidney ferry running. So I don't get to see them as often as I'd like. My grandpa actually passed away this past year, so
Sorry.
yeah, it's okay. It was hard, but it was coming. And I had just gotten to see him. It was just after Christmas, so thankfully I had got to see him right before he passed. But had that Sidney ferry been running this whole time, I'm sure I would have seen him, a couple more times before that.
Yeah. So you're, as a business owner that is in a great location and serves a lot of visitors, and you've been in this role now as a barista at the front line for years. Have you noticed a change in volume or the makeup of the visitors that are coming through?
In terms of the volume, I would say we've actually gotten significantly busier since COVID. I don't know if people are just traveling more domestically or what. So I don't really think the lack of the Sidney ferry has increased the volume, but I have noticed we used to, and we still do get large groups of bikers and sort of people who are here just to see the island, and I've noticed that is not as much the case of the Sidney ferry. When I used to get on the Sidney ferry to come visit here before I actually lived here, there would be groups of maybe 24 bikers getting on, and all these foot passengers too, who just they're just coming to visit the island for the day. And you don't really see that. I mean, you still see that from Anacortes, but it's a little different.
So Washington State Ferries says that their plan is to bring the ferry, the route back in 2030. Mm-hmm. You believe that?
I mean, that's what I've read too, but I mean, before that we heard it was 2024, I believe, or 2023, they said maybe. And then, of course, that got extended and pushed back. So I think, we'll have to see as we get closer to that 2030 date. I'm skeptical.
So what would be your message? What would you say to people who said this doesn't matter?
I think for a lot of people it does matter. There's a lot. I mean, I know other, Canadians in our company who have family on Vancouver Island, and they don't get to see their family as much as they'd like. I don't get to see my family as much as I'd like. There's definitely people who have, they care a lot, and it's not just because they want to go visit Victoria for the day. They have family, friends, appointments, even on Vancouver Island. So
now, when the service was running for all those years, I assume you drove on, right?
For the most part, I
sometimes walked on.
Yeah, I usually drove on. If I was just going to go for the afternoon or for a quick day or two, I might get picked up in Sidney in order to just save on cost a little bit. But typically, I drove on.
So, if in this interim period from now to 2030 or whenever that is, if private operators or some private operators, maybe with some help from the state of Washington or even the help from Saanich Peninsula, maybe, if there was a temporary kind of replacement service, but it was only walk-on, it was only passenger, would that help?
I think so. I know a lot of people are against privatizing the ferries, and I know that's not what you're asking. You're asking like just specifically for this one route, correct?
Mm-hmm. Well, and presumably temporarily, mm-hmm. if they actually bring it back.
Mm-hmm. But I think a private service would be fantastic. I think I'm going to compare Washington State Ferries and BC Ferries for a second here, but BC Ferries it's a much better experience. Yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but I mean, there's good food on board. It's more comfortable, more spacious. Like, it's just better in every way, other than the fact that it's like $20 more expensive. So, I'm all for privatizing the ferries, even in general, but also on this smaller scale.
Well, that's a whole different subject, but it does come up.
Yeah.
It does come up, and for people who haven't studied it, it's not completely privatized. There's still a nexus, with the government, but it is, I believe it's a corporation, but it's a corporation, I believe, of the government or affiliated with the government. I guess I should do some more homework on that, but you find that it's a better experience.
Yeah. I haven't done a ton of research. I can only really speak from my own personal experience, but I just find that the BC ferries are a lot more pleasant than the Washington.
Now, what if it was, the other direction? It was even less luxurious than, luxurious is kind of a funny word to use, but less luxurious than the Washington State ferries, but it got you over there.
I would happily take that. I mean, all these amenities and all the things that the BC ferries have are nice, but I just want to be able to go see my family, my friends over on Vancouver Island, and not being able to do that without the Sidney ferry, or being able to do that, but it's an 8-hour trip. It's, $400 round trip, give or take. It's tough, and it's something you can't do all the time.
If you could speak directly to a Washington State politician at the state level, what would you say?
I would just kind of let them know that, this isn't a case of nobody cares. I'm sure there are lots of other people with stories similar to mine, people who have these connections, whether it be family, friends, business, whatever, on Vancouver Island, and to sort of cast those aside and say that they don't matter, they're not important, just doesn't seem correct to me.
Okay. Tyler, thank you very much for sharing your story, and we will be watching Olympia very closely. There are some discussions about maybe repurposing a certain type of boat, like a whale watching boat, or bringing other boats into commission, there are all sorts of things at the talking stage. I'm not aware of anything that's gone very far, but it's something that CNL2 is going to try to keep alive. So thank you for sharing your story, and keep up the great work with Salty Fox.
Thank you so much.
And see you tomorrow for a cookie.
Sounds great.
And a coffee.
I appreciate that. We'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you very much. We'll be right back.
Attention all Washington State veterans. You can show pride in your military service by displaying an Armed Forces license plate on your vehicle. Proceeds from the plates allow us to honor our heroes in their final resting place at the Washington State Veterans Cemetery and are tax deductible. Get your Armed Forces license plates today and help us continue serving those who served.
With every load secured, every cigarette butt that doesn't go out the window, every fast food bag that arrives at its proper destination, and every time we politely say, hey, there's a better place for that, Washington gets a little cleaner, a little safer, a little more breathtaking. Because small choices add up to a home we can all be proud of. We keep Washington litter-free.
We love to recycle. It feels good to help protect the environment. But what if we aren't actually helping? When you put your recyclables in plastic bags, your items can't be properly sorted at the recycling facility. Even worse, the plastic bags can clog up the machines, putting all your good work to waste. So don't bag your recyclables, toss them straight into the curbside bin. And your recyclables will stay recyclable.
Victor deployed for the first time to Afghanistan in 2003. He sustained a moderate traumatic brain injury. Basically, he had to relearn everything. One of the most important elements of caregiving is taking care of yourself. We have our own journey, and we can fulfill that journey at the same time that we are helping our loved one.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for a free military veterans guide to navigate your caregiving journey.
Sorry about that. We're back, and I think that was a really interesting conversation with Tyler at Salty Fox, which apparently I'm at Salty Fox. I'm on the sidewalk. It's not too cold. I'm not getting wet, but visit Salty Fox if you haven't been there lately. Great coffees, quite a food menu. But I don't have to tell anybody that. Anybody from Friday Harbor knows to go in there when it's cold and waiting on the lot, and you come out with a great breakfast sandwich. So thank you, Tyler. And then there's another Tyler, Jeremy Tyler, who is over there in the dark with all the flashing lights. And it's time. This has been coming for a while, but it's time. I think this is our 15th show now, and we need a more permanent host than me. We need to find someone maybe almost as handsome, almost as funny, engaging, so Jeremy has been, back to Jeremy, in the sea of lights and wires and stuff, continues to build the infrastructure here. It's done an incredible job. I am amazed at our capabilities that we have right now. And my function is really to do deals. We are trying to build the 48th parallel news service, which could serve 1 million people. There's literally 1 million people in the 48th parallel in Western Washington and British and Lower Vancouver Island. And so it's time to be asking around for a good host to this show. I can tell you some of the things that we would be looking for. We would be looking for someone who is very intelligent and can understand these issues. We're looking for someone who is very balanced, who can keep their own opinions to themselves, and investigate these various stories and issues in this area. So with this thing that we're building, and we've been building it for a year now, it's been amazing how the people that we need just kind of eventually show up. We are going to be starting after this show, in a week and a half, we are going to be starting I'm pretty sure we're going to be starting a radio call-in show. So the video part of this will go away, but the radio part will continue for an additional hour. And that person just kind of showed up, and we're really happy about that. And so I think we're getting a point. I know we're getting traction. We seem to grow every single day. We hear from more people. We have more important people agreeing to interview. I lined up another really, really good interview with a statewide expert on Washington State Ferries this morning. So we're getting quite a bit of traction. We're growing. And I think if I just make it clear that this is not the role that I really need to play, but we just had to go on and get started with live programming. And if anything, I'm just kind of trying to model roughly what we're looking for in a host. And then hopefully someone better than me will come forward, and we will, if you want to do it as a volunteer, great. If you need to be paid, I understand that. We can talk. But whether it's yourself as you're watching this, or whether it's someone you know, I think at this point in time, the one thing I can say is that that person at this moment would need to be a resident of San Juan Island. We make extensive use of Zoom to deal with people, to bring people remotely into this setting, and we will do even more of that in the coming weeks and months. But I think the person who moderates this show, hosts this show, will need to be someone here on the island at this time. So I sure hope somebody out there is thinking of someone, or it's you, and we would encourage you to please get in contact with me, and let's talk. Let's talk. Also, I want to re-invite people again after our conversation with Norris Palmer the other day. We are very interested in people coming in and sitting in the studio live when we're doing the television portion of the show at noon. And we will definitely, if someone comes in, we will accommodate them if they want to ask a question or make a statement during the 1-hour television program. So live audience, and we're looking for a host. And so I'll put this up in the window, but help wanted. Help wanted. So thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we got a late start today. Won't happen again. Probably will. And you can watch us on video on demand at any time. Thank you. Have a great day.